Hey everybody, we're talking about, does wetness really impact your performance as a woman? And we're talking about performance anxiety, we're talking about what you can do about wetness, we're talking about the impact, the anxiety around it, and so much more. So before we go into the what you do about it, just a couple things to normalize this conversation. And if I haven't met you before, my name is Dr. Diane Mueller. I'm a board-certified sexologist. And in this conversation, one of the first things I want to introduce is that up to 50% of women say they experience some sort of performance anxiety around sex and never talk about it. It's much more of a common conversation around men and around performance anxiety with erectile dysfunction, but it indeed does happen to women, and we have to normalize this because 50% is obviously really common. Now, in these 50%, and again, we're going to get to what to do about it in a moment, but in these 50% of women that experience performance anxiety at some point, 10% of them say that it is not being able to get wet enough and being worried about what their partner will think. So this is really challenging, right? Because one of the first things that can pop us out of enjoying sex, of enjoying the moment, is being in our head too much, is not feeling those sensations in our body. So one of the biggest points and one of the biggest problems is that when we have porn, when we'll have societal ideas around what sex is supposed to be like and what massive wetness is supposed to happen just from looking at a hard penis, I feel like there's so much misunderstanding that man shows woman a hard penis and all of a sudden she is supposed to be gushing wet. And first of all, that is not true in most scenarios. Second of all, there is a thing called genital non-concordance, as spoken a lot about by Dr. Emily Nagoski. And one of the things in her research and in her book, Come As You Are, that she talks about, and the studies associated with that book, is the concept of genital non-concordance, like I said. And what this is, it's where the brain can feel incredibly turned on and the genitals do not respond. Or the brain can feel not turned on at all, and the genitals get a huge response. So we see this, right? This mismatch of what's going on with our brain, which is actually our largest sex organ, and what is going on with our genitals. So when we are under pressure, when women feel this performance anxiety and this pressure around not being wed and what are their partners going to think, one of the first things to understand is really teaching partners that there is not always this perfect relationship with having more or having wetness and actually feeling turned on. And of course, women know this also as hormones change, that women can feel turned on in their brain and they're not feeling this in their vagina. They're not getting that lubrication. So that's a big thing. Now, another level of performance anxiety for women can be from misunderstandings about arousal and what sex is supposed to look like. So many people, men and women alike, have in their head what sex looks like in the media, in porn, in movies, and they think this is what it's supposed to be like, right? And that could not be further from the truth. This fact that a woman, and I say this all the time in my videos and even here, the fact that okay, hard penis, and all of a sudden a woman is instantly aroused just by seeing that hard penis, most of the time that's not how it works. And a lot of the men might wish it would, work that way. And frankly, I think women sometimes wish it would work that way too, because that would be easy, right? It'd be easy if the way our arousal systems work just lined up. But really, women often need 20 minutes to get that blood flow to that area, to even feel aroused enough for things to feel really good and lubricated. So one of the biggest things that anxiety can come from is just not understanding that you're not broken if you're not instantly responding. There's nothing wrong with you if your body is not instantly responding. This is actually a normal part of the female anatomy and the female functionality, but you do need, in order for this to work, in order for it to work well, one of the things that has to happen is there needs to be enough time. And so if you have performance anxiety in any ways as a woman relating to, hey, not being wet enough, I would really encourage you to just like normalize this and say, whatever age you're at, this is very, very common. There are root causes, right? There's physical root causes for this. You can go take my quiz at libidoquiz.com. That will tell you some information on some of those root causes, right? So that'll give you information there. But in addition to that, in addition to the causes that we go over in that quiz, from hormones to circulation to pelvic floor problems, to things like stress and cortisol levels, to your nerves and neurological system, in addition to those types of things, your brain is your biggest sex hormone, and your biggest sex organ, I should actually say. Not your biggest sex hormone, your biggest sex organ. So a lot of how as women we get in the mood, a lot of how as women we get aroused is spending enough time present in your body for sensations. Like, it is very, very, very common. And you can go and watch the most recent video that came out, because I talk about the annoying thoughts in that video that happen with sex. So, go back and listen to my video on, is sex, are you having annoying thoughts that are interrupting your pleasure? Because that's one of the biggest things with sexual performance, is getting a hold of what your mind is doing, so that your mind is so present in the sensations. And this is truly where masturbation and self-pleasure do come into play, because some of this also is practice for the mind wandering. You touch yourself in a certain way, where's your mind go? Are you focused on the sensation? Okay, and even doing like a self-pleasure practice, you can even consider having lovely bells or whistles or birds, something that's not stimulating to the nervous system, that, comes on as like an alarm, a trigger, every minute or so. And basically during that time, like, your goal is to say, are you paying attention to the sensations in your body? We are so often projecting our mind outside of our body, and we cannot lubricate well. We cannot enjoy sex very well that way, because if we are not in our brain, fully in our senses, we are not going to be able to actually have our body respond to the sensations that are happening to our body. And again, nothing is wrong here, right? Everybody is capable of orgasming. Everybody is capable of experiencing amazing sex. This is not just for certain people, right? Everybody is actually capable of this. So I do really encourage you, go to libidoquiz.com. And libidoquiz.com is where you're going to find that quiz, so you can find to see if there's some of those root causes of low libido that could be impacting you. And then from there, talk to your partner about this. If you need help with that, join some of my programs where I teach you the strategies on this. Because what we want your partner to realize is that doesn't necessarily mean you're turned on or turned off, that there needs to be more time allowing for your arousal, and that we don't want to take these things like, is the partner wet? Is the partner hard? Is the partner this? Is their partner that? We don't want to take that as meaning anything about us, right? Occasionally that is the case, but most of the time it is not about you. It is about some other imbalance going on. And the more we normalize these conversations and we make it not taboo, we just make it a normal part of our relationship to talk about these things, the better it goes for your sex life, the better it goes for your partner and everybody involved. All right, everybody. Ciao for now.